Well, Hamid Ansari served as India's Vice President for 2 terms from the years 2007 to 2017. Before that, he had a distinguished career as a diplomat. He's been the Vice Chancellor of the Aligarh Muslim University and also headed the National Minorities Commission. Now, he says that after leaving public office, he had hoped for a quieter life, but that has been shattered, at least for the moment. We have former Vice President Hamid Ansari joining us on NDTV this evening. Great to talk to you, sir, especially at a time when your book, Dare I Question, has come out. Is there any particular reason that you chose this title?
Yes, the focus is on the citizen, the rights of citizen, duties of citizen. And I have answered the question in the inside flap that a citizen must ask questions, because it is part of an interactive process between the state and the citizen body. I have rights under the Constitution as a citizen, I have duties under the Constitution as citizens. And if I conclude for this reason or that reason that either the rights or the duties are not being fully adhered to, then I should ask why. That is where the question is.
What prompted you to sort of raise that as an issue and as a title? Is it because you feel that today those who are asking questions, whether it is in the media, whether it is activists, whether it is civil society, those who are asking difficult questions, particularly of the establishment, are often getting shouted down or being labelled as anti-national? Is that why?
No, I didn't start from national or anti-national. I am basically, as I have said it in the preface, there are two issues. One is what are the core values of our society, and secondly, what institutional structure have we created to realize those values, and what is the efficacy of that institutional structure. Now, as far as the core values are concerned, it is a plural society dedicating itself to secularism and realization of all those principles which are listed in the preamble of the Constitution.
And do you believe those principles are under threat?
They are being questioned in one form or the other. I mean, there are two aspects to it. One is the lack of sufficient performance. You know, when you talk of equality, when you talk of justice, when you talk of liberty, there are questions. There have been those questions all through our existence as an independent country. Again and again, we've had to go back and seek correctives. The courts have provided the correctives, the political system has provided the correctives. That's one side of it. But if somebody is beginning to question the core values, then you have to wake up and see, wow, what does this mean? What will be the end result of it? If you question the basic principles of Indian nationalism, what is Indian nationalism? Nationalism
is that what you think is happening today?
That
the basic principles of Indian nationalism are being questioned? In what way, according to you?
Well, our nationalism is defined by the Indian Constitution. It is inclusive. It includes the entire citizen body. Now, if an effort is being made for this reason or that reason to circumscribe that, you know, to say no, an Indian national is this, but if you don't do this, then you are less of a national. That is where problem comes in. You know,
when you try to define a nationalist in a certain term.
The basic concept that I have used is what is a liberal democracy and what is an illiberal or ethnic democracy. Now, an illiberal democracy is one which prescribes the limits within which you can be a full national.
And you believe there is a danger that that is what we are becoming?
Well, that's what I have read in the books, which are fundamental texts of some people in the country.
So you believe that there is a danger that India is becoming an illiberal majoritarian democracy?
Yes, very much so. It's been talked about, written about a great deal, being debated not only within the country, but anybody who cares to follow Indian developments. There has been a good deal of writing on this subject.
So, can I then come to the preface of your book, because that's what has made news. The book is a compilation of your writings, it's a compilation of your speeches, but the preface has made news, especially because you have made a reference to what Prime Minister Modi said when you demitted office on the 10th of August last year. It was your last day as Vice President, and you have pointed out that his remarks about you, while they were very complimentary, also sort of deviated from practice, and as you put it, that what he perceived to be a certain inclination in your approach, because you had spent a good part of your professional tenure as a diplomat in Muslim lands and in post-retirement period on minority-related questions. In other words, you're saying that the Prime Minister was not happy with you for publicly raising issues that are related to Muslims and other minorities.
I'm not saying it. Some observers and serious writings in the media have said it. I didn't comment on his remarks.
But is that what he was doing? Was he not happy with what he was saying publicly?
People read it that way, and his faithful followers certainly read it that way.
So, you know,
the book is not about his remarks. The book is about more fundamental things. What are those principles to which we have subscribed since the independence? And what is the institutional structure? How well is that institutional structure functioning? We have given ourselves the basic principle of rule of law. And to implement it, we have a legislature, we have an executive, we have a judicial.
But did you get a sense that the Prime Minister was not comfortable with your public utterances on minorities and Muslims and their problems?
Oh, it was never said to me by anybody. My public utterances have been there for 10 years. I don't think there is any great deviation. You will find what I said 7 years hence or 8 years hence and today.
So then why do you think he made the remarks that he did?
I did articulate in my last two, my last speech was in the National Law School, Bangalore on the 6th of August. That was 4 days before I debated office, where I said that there is a growing sense of unease amongst segments of our population, particularly religious minorities. And I repeated that with the interview that I gave the previous day to my debating office, to a TV channel, where I said the same thing. But I have said these things earlier also. This is not the sole occasion when I have said this.
So you never heard anything from the Prime Minister directly. What was your relationship with him like? You
Oh,
worked with him for 3 years.
No, I had very cordial relationship with him as Chief Minister of the state of Gujarat and as Prime Minister, no problems.
But let's come back to, you know, what you talked about the core principles of India being challenged. You have talked about majoritarian nationalism in your book. What are the dangers that would bring to our democracy?
Look at our demographic data. 19.5% of the population of India, as reflected in the census of 2011, consists of religious minorities, which means that if you introduce the majoritarian principle and the criteria that is spelt out in textbooks of great weight and value as to what does it constitute, are you born there, do you subscribe to this ideology, blah blah blah, it's all there. Then some people will be outside the circle, some people will be inside it. And religious minorities will then be here not as equal citizens, but they will be here on sufferance, which takes away from my right as a full citizen with full responsibility for rights and
Is
duties.
that what you think is happening to India's Muslims?
It could happen, not just to Muslims, it could happen to a lot of other religious minorities.
So when you speak about unease among the Muslim community, and that, as you said, is something you've been talking about for years, would you say that today there is a greater degree of unease in the Muslim community about their position in the country? Is it a greater sense of unease?
I think the media has been full of reports of incidents which cannot but cause unease. Whatever the reason might be, wherever the incidents might have taken place, but if you take them in their totality, then there is a sense of unease.
And how does that need to be addressed? Wouldn't you say then that that is something that the Prime Minister himself has to take a lead on to reassure the people of India? Are you disappointed that that's not happening?
Well, the rule of law means what? That before the law, everybody is equal, and that the principles of law will be implemented. That's all. Now, whether it is a local administration, whether it is a state government, whether it is the central government, these are matters of detailed division of responsibilities, which is well spelt out in our constitution and in our administrative system. But you cannot say that X is not responsible, Y is not responsible. Up the ladder, down the ladder.
Now I see why you were such a distinguished diplomat, because you have a very good way of answering the question without necessarily pinpointing to the person I'm asking about. But let me put it this way. When you see ministers garlanding people accused of, not just accused, lynching convicts like Jayant Sinha did, and another BJP MP came out and spoke in their support. You had another minister who had gone and draped a national flag around the coffin of a man accused of lynching a man in Uttar Pradesh. When you see ministers doing that, what is the message that is being sent out?
Well, they are sending a message, A, to their core following, and sending a message to the rest of the citizen body in the country. And this is what is worrying. You see, if you are in a public position, whether as an elected representative, as a minister, as an official, as a member of the judiciary, you have, by your public utterances and your public behavior, convey certain messages that you are not representing this opinion or that opinion. You are representing the opinion of the state as inscribed in the basic principles of the state.